Lord, grant me the serenity to understand the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things that I can. And grant me the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today. Amen. Away from me.
You close to the edge, just don't move. My brother said his lawyer just gave him some bad news. Police found the drugs that were stashed in the bathroom. Not only that, but his court date approaching us fast too. So tell me what to do. Lord, you only seek the truth. If you want to bear fruit, then it needs to abide in you. If you seek transformation, it happens in solitude. Since I never had a shot, God threw me the alley-oop. I believe I can fly. Let me mingle with the angels. Heaven's in my peripheral, I see it from an angle.
Welcome, it's your boy Bro Troy,
Bro Smith, and Bro Kurt,
and we are the Bro Code. Bro Code TV show was created to share unique, courageous stories that amplify the voices of others, speak life into our community, and celebrate the humane side of humanity. The code is a set of standards or values a person lives by. The code sets the tone for how we treat all people, starting with ourselves. The code matures into the Bro Code when we are fortunate enough to find men that share in those same values and standards. Tonight's show is sponsored by Papa Murphy's Pizza. Make sure to go to papamurphys.com and sign up for our My_Rewards to be in the know for exclusive deals, sneak peeks, and savings for our Papa Murphy's My_Rewards family. What's happening, fellas? How y'all doing tonight, man?
I'm feeling great, man.
Feeling good?
Yeah, I feel good.
Hey, man.
I'm cold. I feel good.
Hey, we in here, though, man. That's where the energy comes from. It is. A little deja vu, man. Like we changed clothes and did 2 episodes in one day. I don't know. It might be, man, but it does feel good, brother. It does feel good. I'm curious, we got an awesome gentleman coming on today. We go back, a good friend of ours, and he's a producer. Like, not just any producer, but, we'll get into that. But definitely, I guess you could say super producer. Right?
Why not?
Hey, why not, right? Yeah, words do matter, right? Powerful. Anyway, I'm curious, man, across all lines, whether that's music, movies, TV shows, what's your favorite producer, man? Talk to me.
You want to start off?
You go first.
I would say musically, I'm going Ninth Wonder.
Shout out to Ninth Wonder. We need you on the Bro Code show, man.
The guy's worked with all sorts of crazy artists.
Yeah.
And he's getting better and better every day.
That's it, man.
He is.
Like fine wine, right? With aging? Yeah, indeed, man.
Yep.
Indeed.
I'm gonna have to go 50 Cent. Rapper, movies.
Can't go wrong with 50,
and now businessman,
yeah,
right? And now crushing it on
it.
TV shows, man.
Yeah.
50, man, come on, man. Shout out to 50 Cent.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get him on the Bro?
Hey, we need you on the Bro Code show, 50, right here, baby. Let's make it happen. I got to shout out to the ladies, man. When it comes to TV, Shonda Rhimes, Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right? How to Get Away with Murder, Scandal.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like Olivia Pope?
I love
Olivia Pope. Everybody needs a little eye candy.
Can't watch it.
Yeah, we need you on the Bro Code show. Indeed. Well, fellas, no need to wait. We talked about our producer, but we got a super producer to bring on the show.
Oh, yeah. Let's get him
So,
out here.
Adam, where you at, man? Come on, man. Where you at?
Hey, hold on, 50. Hold on. I got my boys there to talk to. Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, I heard y'all talking.
What's up, 50?
All right, good to see you. Yeah. Well, 50 got a hole right now because I'm talking to these guys right here.
Yeah,
the Bro Code. I like
man.
in the house.
Yes,
So what we got going on?
Hey, look, Adam, we are here just having a good time, man. It's good to see you. There's some people that are looking right now, listeners and watchers, that may not know who Adam Williams is. So in 90 seconds or less, man, tell our listeners, man, run your resume, put some respect on your name.
All right, check this out, everybody. In 90 seconds or less, I'm going to try to give it to you. Name is Adam Williams, Adam Clayton Powell Williams, named after a famous politician, preacher up in New York and Harlem. Go by the name AZHEA, that's AZHEA. It is kind of like the sound of the continent, but a little different. It's short for like Asiatic, all that type of stuff. We'll get back into that though, but also I'm a well-known video director, editor, all types of stuff. Worked at WRAL, still there now, 26 years, something like that. Besides that, have a business I started 2001. It established 2001, but it's been around since like 96. So besides that, self-taught, I taught myself on everything. Multi-talented. I used to be a chef, head chef.
Okay.
only people I talked to was in French. So
Yeah.
I had to tell them, you know, Je m'appelle Adam, you know, and all that type, you know, just a little French, because what they did to me in the past would walk around and have me to say bad words, and I had to learn it. So yeah.
Parle plus français aussi.
Bien. So then, able to achieve goals to a high standard, independent, family man, love for technology, like all the new stuff and everything. Besides that, college graduate from St. Aug with honors, you know, doing my thing. Have an exclusive background in the entertainment and media field. Come from a successful family in the entertainment field. That's how I got all into this. And born in the Bronx, same day as hip hop, which is pretty cool, you know. And then having the name Adam Clayton Powell from Harlem and all that, it's legendary. So
Yeah. Well,
but a lot more, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, indeed. Well, hey, we're glad to have you, man. We're going to get into it for real. So I'm curious, like, we talked amongst ourselves about who our favorite producer is. Now, you can't say yourself.
Right.
Okay, I just want you to know that.
Yeah.
I know you don't.
Yeah.
But do you have one? Is that something that, you know, like, where do you find influence? Where do you find your passion?
So my influence started, and my passion, and that's good that you said about producers, because my family background is in the music and entertainment industry. So nothing else that I can say that's my favorite is somebody that was close to me. It's my two uncles, Bo and Charles Huggins, and that's the Huggins family. They're producers of Jay-Z to you name it, Freddie Jackson, aunt was Melba Moore, then my uncle got married to Michael Michelle, New Jack City movies, they did it all, you know. So when I saw that back then, I was like, this is, at first it was just my uncles. They would never brag or nothing. They liked to be behind the scenes and not in front. So I would see them drive up the brand new Jaguars, had the jets, had everything. And I was like, okay, you know, this is cool. We get first class wherever we went. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the life. And then I asked my grandma, I was like, what did he do? And she was like, oh, he just do music, you know, just a little something. So I didn't think much of it. But when I moved down here from New York, walked into a place called School Kids Records on Hillsborough Street. I don't know if y'all was around for that.
I remember School Kids.
Yeah, and this is a crazy thing too, because there's a magazine just for the people that work at the record stores and know what's the hits and all that. The magazine is called Hits. Wow. And it was just sitting on the counter. I pulled the thing off the counter and I started looking through it, and I was like, oh shoot. Yeah. There's my two uncles, and then there's Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and they just produced all of them together. Did Michael Jackson stuff. All of them together did Whitney Houston and all this. And as soon as I got out that store, I called my uncle up. Hey, I want to know more. And he was like, all right, you know, I'll show you, you know. Yeah. So that's how I got started with a little bit of this stuff.
That's really dope, man. That's a heck of a story, man. Appreciate you sharing, man. Well,
no doubt.
Yeah. Bro Smith, let's shoot me straight out the phone, bro.
I want you to flow from there, man. Tell us a little bit more about your childhood. You know, who else were some of your early influences, and how did you actually lead into the place where you're at now?
All right, so childhood, I was born in the Bronx, Bronx, New York. Lambert Projects, housings and all that we stayed at, South Bronx, born in Morrisana, hospital burned down, buildings burned down left and right. It was just crazy up there back then than what it is now. There's stations set up in the projects now. And back then it was like the only protection you had is just to know the people in the area, and that was your protection. If you pissed one person off, you know, everybody, and that's the crazy thing is like gossiping and all that stuff around here, you would think that, oh, people know how to find you and stuff. But in New York, it was like Bluetooth, like the internet. We didn't have that back then, but people stuck their head out the window and it's like, he's over there, he's over there. And then they'll talk to somebody and before you know it, they done caught you because, you know, just word of mouth through the projects, they already caught you. So my grandmother, she was pretty much like, we lived in the Bronx. We because the majority of our family is New York. So we lived in the Bronx and wanted to keep everybody all together, whatever. But what ended up happening is that my mother, she, before I was born, she got involved with my father, which is into the drug game and all that type of stuff. And as time went on, he ended up getting killed. And she kept saying, like, we need to get away from here, whatever. So with that said, like, my grandmother, her goal was to get us out of New York, to get us away from New York. He was part of, I think, a gang was called the Savage Skulls back then. It was another gang that he was cool with would start off with Mejentes and all of that. And we, through the projects, there was nights that we would go home and they would have like these little cans set up where they pull a string and there was pee in there, and they'll get it on people. They'll jump onto the top of the elevators, jump down and rape girls and stuff like that. So yeah, it was time for us to get out. A lot of our family members was getting killed, friends was getting killed, stuff like that. So my grandmother, she was blind in one eye, and she was just like, I'm gonna get us out of here, but I'm gonna pray, because she was very religious. So she sat down, grabbed a mat and closed her eyes and just tossed like a little stone, and wherever that stone landed, that's where it was gonna move. And crazy enough, it was Raleigh, North Carolina. Wow. But the crazy thing about it, we moved and we was like, oh man, me and my brother, we thought we was going to the Beverly Hills, you know, because we was like, oh, we going. And as soon as we hit country air, we started throwing up and everything. We couldn't get used to it. It was pure than it was up in New York. When I was a little kid, they thought I was crazy because the dump trucks would come through the Bronx and I would run behind it just sniffing the gas. I'm glad I didn't stay in New York. I'll probably be a crackhead. I'll probably be a crackhead.
You don't do that here, then, right?
That's one thing my grandmother taught me. Like, when I moved down here, and this is the crazy thing, like, she was like, oh yeah, we're moving to a good place. We moved to South Swain Street, Chavis Heights. So we lived in Chavis Heights for a little while. My grandmother got known around there, and everything was cool. You know, everybody was treating us good and everything. But you know, she was like, "Yeah, this is just feels like we're back in the Bronx." So we want to get somewhere else. So we ended up moving from there to Biltmore Hills. From Biltmore Hills to Bunch Drive, which is, I guess, right up the street off Hatley Road. And thing was, we had cousins down here that was still in gangs and all that stuff. I was introduced to my cousins, so I started running with them and getting in trouble and stuff like that. So all this stuff about my uncle being the celebrity and all that wasn't cool anymore. It was about being to the streets and doing all that stuff. And my brother, he loved the streets. He was straight thuggish and all that stuff. So he loved it. That's my big brother. So I'm looking at him like, oh, if he likes it, then I'm cool with it too. So we started hanging with our cousins. Ended up hanging and being a part of the gangs here, and being in Chavis Heights was our main place, but then it was Vitamin Gardens we lived in Halifax Court, we lived in Apollo Heights. You named it, like all the places that finally my mom ended up getting a place in Workdale. And we was like, Workdale? Ain't nothing but punks there, you know. We would go in there, we'd terrorize them, you know, because we was from the bad area. And I ended up like separating myself from my brother and my cousins and stuff, and start seeing that, okay, these guys are about, you know, life and business and stuff like that. Well, they're about just being mean and angry and stuff like that. But, you know, I still looked up to my brother because he was my protection and everything. So.
At what point did music, media, branding, when did all that hit you as a passion?
Well, it was always like a passion for me, but what happened was, you know, I was getting to the part where everything twisted. What happened was, I started going back and forth to New York. When I came back, a lot of people, oh, the New York boys, or whatever. And while I'm in New York, my brother is still, you know, running streets down here and everything. They had our name as Adam and Ole. His name was Ole. So they thought we was one person, but we was pretty much two. And one day I was downtown Raleigh, and there's a group of Kingwood, Idlewood, Sawyer Road, and they're all in their little sets or whatever. And I'm walking through, and one of the guys saw me. He was like, "Hey, you know my boy. You try to jump my man." And I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" And you know when somebody's biting their bottom lip, it's about to go down, you know. So I was like, standing in the middle of the bus stop, I was like, okay, but I'm loaded. I got my gun with me and everything. And I kept my focus on him. But then all of a sudden, a group of guys came, bum rushed me from the back, bum rushed me from the side. I pull out my gun, and I'm aiming at the guys, and they back off. So then I was like, okay. And I have a shiny chrome, I forgot what it was back then, it probably was like a 9 or something, but I'm just walking just in the middle of the bus station downtown with my arm waving and stuff. So then one of the guys kind of like watched from a distance. And when he watched from a distance, the next day it was just a series of things going on.
Yeah.
So then the next day I went back downtown. I was like, oh yeah, I'm bad, whatever. And that same guy saw me downtown, walks up on me, pulls his weapon out, but I was like, okay, I caught him because he had I think it was a 38 or something, but it had the long nose one. So he pulls it out, he gets it up this far. I grab my gun, put it up to his head, right, and this is in the middle of the bus station where the buses drive through, so no buses can drive through and everything. I put it up to his head, click, 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 and that gun always jammed, so the bullet was hanging right there. Maybe that was a sign, like, why I'm here today.
How old are you at this time?
I was probably 19, I think, at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, at first I was like, okay, cool, but the nurse that was there talking to me all through the whole thing before he got there, and she was telling me, you need to get your life together. You need to make a change. You know, you might not have made it, but you need to make a change. We was about to amputate your leg, you know, and all that stuff. And I was like, oh shoot, you know. So I sat back, told my cousin I'm not worried about it. He couldn't believe it. He's like, I'm gonna still go and find him or whatever. I was like, no, don't, you know, let it go. With that said, they had to teach me how to walk again. You know, so it was first from the walker to crutches, going up and down the steps and all that. And finally I got back into the business, and I'm like, okay, you know, it's time to make that change. My grandmother was there for me, and she was like, I prayed for you. When I went downtown, right after that, I saw a trail of blood leading to the restaurant, and I thought you was gone, you know, and I was like, okay, it's time to make that change. So I already know it, even though my family was in the business, as an uncle or whatever, I don't want to deal with that, you know, coming towards my business. So I said to myself, I'm gonna go ahead and get my life together and impress them. So I was fortunate enough to meet with one of my cousins that was already in the industry here, Dexter Williams, and he turned me on to like doing cable access, television shows and stuff like that. So we started a show called Soul Avenue. Once I started that, it started to build. A lot of people was like, oh man, this is hot. This is crazy, because my brother's in the streets. So I'm taking people to the streets and doing interviews and craziness, walking into a crack house, getting somebody to freestyle in a crack house, stuff like that. And that people's like, oh man, this is hot. We never seen this before. And it set a trend. And
Is that early 2000s?
this was like 90s.
90s.
Yeah, this was way back. So it was before everybody started doing their thing down here. So it was like, and that's why everybody still come up to us today, because they're like, oh, we want.
Sounds like you turned pain, and through that came purpose. You know, we can really dig that, especially as servant leaders ourselves. You know, if you're just checking in, we didn't even talk about where we're at, gentlemen.
Oh yeah,
right. You know, talk to the people, man.
All right, everybody. We're here at Men at Work.
Shout out to Mike Dot.
Established by Michael Phillips. Mike Phillips, you know, Mike Dot. That's what they call him. This guy right here started this Men at Work car wash years ago, and it started. The first time I met him, it was on Blunt Street down there by Shaw, and as was mentioned earlier, I was doing a TV show. He was actually one of my sponsors back then. So like one of my really first sponsors that actually put time and kept on investing into that show. And what we would do is come down, and Men at Work is a car wash, car care center. And we would come down, I'll bring my car down there, and they would clean it up like nobody ever seen it before. That thing would come out there shining, and everybody would be like, yo, who did that? And after that, it just started something crazy. Now everybody's coming up, hey, Men at Work, Men at Work. And the way Mike presents himself, he has that voice and everything. He yells and he does his thing, and everybody knew Mike then. You know, when they saw that, they was like, oh, that's Mike. Oh my gosh, you know, he's crazy, you know. So
Shout out to Mike Dot, man. What's the address here, bro?
330 Tryon Road, Raleigh, North Carolina. And it's Men at Work. When you see the big sign out there, you already know where you're at. You'll see the big round circle with the fist and the arm on it. That's that power for you right there.
Here in Raleigh, North Carolina, man. If you're just checking in with the Bro Code, we got my man Adam Williams. We'll be right back.
Since I never had a shot, God threw me the alley-oop. I believe I can fly. Let me mingle with the angels. Heaven's in my peripheral. I see it from my.
We'll be right back on the Bro Code Show after a brief word from our sponsors. We all we got. This show is sponsored by Papa Murphy's Take and Bake Pizza. Make sure to visit your local Papa Murphy's Pizza retail store near you and load up on fresh, made-to-order, gluten-free take and bake pizzas, desserts, and salads. Now make sure to use that mobile app for faster and to earn additional savings. The Bro Code TV show was created to amplify the voices of others and share courageous stories of community leaders, organizations, and businesses that are doing great things. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., you can catch Bro Troy, Bro Kirk, and Bro Smith for another courageous conversation. You can find those conversations on our YouTube channel at Bro Code TV Productions, and also our audio podcast channels, which are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts at The Bro Code Show. Tap in to the Bro Code experience. We all we got.
Heaven's in my peripheral, I see it from an angle.
Welcome back to the Bro Code Show. We are right here with my man Adam Williams. Tonight's show is sponsored by Papa Murphy's Pizza. Make sure to go to papamurphyspizza.com and sign up for My Slice Rewards to be in the know for exclusive deals, sneak peeks, and savings for the Papa Murphy's My Slice Rewards family. Bro Kurt, what you got, man?
Yeah, so Adam, now we know that you have street cred, you know?
Yeah,
Not to laugh at your history, man,
Right.
but like, it's kind of important.
Right.
You know, you talk about the nurse that kind of gave you some words of how to transition in your life.
Yeah.
Was there others?
It was definitely.
Was there a
others.
defining moment that
it
kind of
was,
changed?
It was definitely family and stuff like that that stepped in. My grandmother especially, and pretty much like my brother, even though he was into that, you know, everybody kind of looked at me like the little kid and protect me and stuff like that. So he ended up doing his thing, but he wanted me to kind of get right, you know. And a lot of times people live their life through you when you're doing right. So everybody was in the hood was kind of like, okay, he's going to represent us or whatever. And so I went to that next level. My grandmother, because before all of that too, so much that it's hard for me to pack everything in there. But it was a little clique, and we go back to going to school at Enloe. And we ended up hanging in Lane Street and all that stuff. And the principal knew my mom and everything and knew how we was putting her through a lot of stress. So the principal back then as kids, you know, you don't think somebody's trying to do good for you when they are. And the principal came looking for us on Lane Street. We're out there hanging out, being bad and everything, drives up to us. And we're like, cursing at him and everything. And he's like, y'all need to come back to school. And we're like, we ain't going back to school, whatever. And he gets out the car and we end up jumping him, you know, our principal. And that same day, we went right back to school, you know, just because we was hanging with the wrong crowd. But that crowd walked on campus with us and they was like, this is your last day, we might as well just go all out. So you talk about going to classrooms where they're showing presentations and they're trying to make the, like, right when the screen, like when you're watching a presentation and you're sitting there, just imagine some guys come in, they just sit on the desk just in front of class and everything and just being very disrespectful. The teachers over there ringing a little, because back then they had a little buzzer, ringing a little buzzer to get the principal or whatever. And we're like, you know, we ain't leaving and all that stuff. And the guys with us, like, I'm talking to all the girls in here, so they start giving numbers out and stuff like that. And we thought it was cool, you know, back then. Yeah. But as time went on, you know, I started looking back at all those things and no, that wasn't where I need to be and what I need to do. So as time went on, one of the guys that was in that group, we had dreams. We was artists, so we sat there and draw. Me, my brother, and the guy Derek. We all was artists, so we'll sit and draw, but we'll draw our dreams. We didn't live or have the money to do things, so draw up ourselves driving a Mercedes or draw ourselves in a big house, and yeah, that's us, and we was living that out. My brother went, you know, still doing the street thing. Me and Derek, we was like, we need to change our lives and do right and whatever. My grandmother set me up to get my driver's license, and we would catch the CAT bus to go to Crabtree for that. Sears was where they was teaching us at driving school. And Derek would go with me because he knew the streets wasn't pleasant to us, you know. So if you represent one hood, you got these other hoods. It's like the Warriors, the movie The Warriors. And you wouldn't believe it, but we got on that bus. The bus got surrounded by cars. They stopped that bus to get on there to get us, you know, and yeah, I was like, this is not the life for me or what. I need to get out of this and everything. And my grandmother sat down with me and kind of coached me and said, you need to get back in school. You need to, you know, get your life together. And this is 2 years after doing that incident with this teacher and dropping out. So she pulled up the newspaper. Wake Tech was offering a GED class, so I was like, all right, I'll take that. But one thing I forgot to tell you, I was really smart in school. So even though I would skip school and miss 100 days, I'll still pass with D's. And that was the crazy thing. Like, people don't do that, you know? So they was like, oh, this guy, he still passed, whatever. If I went to school like I should, it would probably be A honor roll or whatever. So she got me into the GED class. I aced the classes left and right, and I was like, this is not enough. And then my grandma was like, oh, Wake Tech is offering an adult education program for like your high school diploma. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that. So I took that class, and those classes, and I ended up passing that and getting the diploma. And I knew that wasn't like where I need to stop at. So when I was in the streets, I was telling people I'm not going to make it as 23, and I'm never going to go to college and all that type of stuff. But my grandmother was the type that was impressed by these little things I did, and I was like, oh man, like, people can love you for doing good things. I thought they loved you for doing the bad stuff, you know, doing robberies and stuff like that, and you'd be cool like that. But then I was cool because I did the good stuff and doing things in the community and stuff like that. And the first thing I got with Tom, the mayor, Tom Fetzer, I think it's something like that, gave me a scholarship and told me like, hey, I want you to do a mural on the wall. So back then I did graffiti myself. And so I did the mural on Rush Street, down like not too far from here.
Let's get into that. I don't want to go too far now because we're going to talk about a mural a little bit later on. But I want to touch on. I was grandma's baby. So to hear you talk about your grandmother, it hits a little different. It really does. Like, that's who raised me. Grandma wore knee pads out praying about this right here, man. She should have invested in that. Really. So I get that, right? And now she saw more in you. You were in a stage of your life and mature enough that you were able to receive that wise counsel. So the wise counsel never stopped. You just didn't receive it. So now you went through. You've got your GED. You're going to Wake Tech. You're moving in that direction. It seems like you're in your early 20s. Talk to us about that HBCU experience, because you're a grad of St. Aug, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, talk to us about that, man. Tell us about that experience here in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh yeah, that experience was one of the greatest experiences I had because number one, I never thought I'd make it to college. And being that I went to like a GED program and then moved to Wake Tech for a diploma, which they never thought could cross over and you can get into college. So back then, I said, let me go to that next step. So I talked to people I think it's a business called Self-Help. And I talked to them, I was like, hey, how can I get in college and everything? And they was like, I think you could probably do it. And I was like, all right, I want to go to, my whole thing was to go to state because I want to go where diversity is at and kind of be on a different level. And state was going to accept me, but they couldn't accept me in the middle of the semester. So then they referred me to Michael Ewer at St. Aug, and I went over there to St. Aug, talked to him. He was in the registrar's office, and he was like, oh, your grades look really good from where you came from. We're going to get you into the honors program. And I was like, all right. I was like, cool, you know. And he was like, this way, you kind of like, it's like a VIP in school, so you have an advantage. Back then, we didn't have the systems to register or whatever. You get into a long line, and you have to stay and wait for like hours, and then if you get to the front of the line, oh, we're closed. You come back tomorrow, and that's how it would be. But he could walk me right up to the front and get me registered like that because I was in this honor society program. So I was like, oh, and I was like, this is the stuff you can get by doing good. And I was like, this is what I need to keep on doing.
There you go.
So, you know, with that said, I was like, yeah, I gotta keep this thing going. And I feared that my grades was gonna drop and everything, and I was gonna lose it. But one thing I can tell you about me being in the streets and doing all that stuff is that it pushed me harder because now you don't have like mom and dad paying for all this stuff you're doing or whatever. This is actually coming out of my pocket. So while I'm in school, I'm taking money that I saved up and I'm putting towards that. And I'm like, it's just like you making an investment. You bought a car and you're like, I don't want nobody sitting in the back seats. This is my new car. You know, the plastic is still back there. So with that, I kept going and going. And once I figured it out and they helped me with the system, I got financial aid and I started getting scholarships and everything. And money started coming in. So I'm like, dang, this is how you can do it just by doing this that easy. And I was like, people made it a big deal, like college and all that was going to be too hard and a struggle for you. But if you put your mind to it, you know, that's all you got to do, and you can make it happen. So once I got in there, I was scared at first because I was like, people are not going to accept me because I didn't graduate high school like everybody else did. I didn't get, you know, the mom and dad escort you on campus and all that type of stuff. You know, I did this pretty much on my own. My grandmother, you know, backed me up from a distance and said, I'm gonna let you fly and you do what you gotta do. So, you know, I walk on campus, kind of scared of everybody around me because I'm like, okay, this is a clique, that's a clique, and this is a clique, and everybody's a clique. But I'm by myself holding it down and going places I don't even know. They keep talking about Hunter Hall and all these places and staying at the dorms or whatever. So my first experience in a dorm, they put me in a dorm and I was scared. I was like, I don't want to be in a dorm. I was always raised without people that I don't know or being around family and all that type of stuff. So I don't want to be in a room with some nerd or whatever, you know. That's my whole mindset. I might strangle this person or whatever, or end up beating them up or something, getting into it. So I was like, yeah, I don't like this. And then they put me in kind of like this VIP dorm that's huge, and come to find out the person that was supposed to be staying with me never showed up. So now I got this whole place to myself. But at the same time, I was staying in Southgate in Raleigh. So my uncle lived in Southgate, so I would drive back to Southgate back and forth. So I really didn't stay on campus, but I kind of used that as a getaway or whatever because I'm paying for it. So you know, with that, I just would go back and forth and ended up learning that, you know, school is, you know, the thing to do and everything, that if you want to succeed, and started getting into the programs and stuff like that. And with my grandmother, she was a big influence because she knew a lot of people. So she said, hey, I watch WRAL all the time. You look like you should be in there. And I was like, what? You know, I was like, WRAL? She was like, yeah, just go down and fill out the application. Try for that job.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because you've been there for a while.
Yeah.
If you're just checking in, we're talking with my man, Adam Williams, jack of all trades, but super producer today. We'll be right back with the Bro Code Show.
Since I never had a shot, God threw me the alley-oop. I believe I can fly. Let me mingle with the angels. Heaven's in my peripheral. I see it from my...
We'll be right back on the Bro Code Show after a brief word from our sponsors. We all we got.
Get your love when I'm gone, when I've said my last goodbye. Who gets your love?
Yeah,
Get your love
when I'm gone.
when I'm gone. Who gets your love? Bello on the beat.
To leave a legacy is bottom line. Missions only designed to recoup distorted times. If every step is important, I pray you order mine. The marathon continues till I reach the borderline.
It's your boy, Bro Troy, a.k.a. Mr. Y4C, but better known as Coach TJ, and we are the Bro Code. We are sitting here with the designer of the Lavelle Moten mural. We're on the corner of Salisbury and Hargett, right here in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. Adam, what's good, bro?
Hey, how's it going, Troy?
Man, good, man.
Good to
Talk
see
to
you,
me
man.
about this design, man. How did it come about? What did it take? Talk to us about it.
All right. So what happened was I knew Lavelle from a long time ago. We used to go to high school and everything, so we were high school buddies and everything. He called me out the blue. He said, hey, I need this design. I want to do something big, and he hit me with this. I didn't know it was going to come out like this, but you know, he hit me with this saying, look, here's some pictures. Come up with something. And I was like, I don't know, man. You know, I was kind of scared about it, but then I said, let me go ahead and put something together and make something happen. So he told me a little story about how he wanted things and what it should represent. But he said, hey, you come up with it. Just do what you do. And I kind of like figured out first, it's kind of like a sidewalk at the bottom. So the sidewalk is like you walking through the history of Lavelle right there. The roads and the concrete, all that. So as you see, it's like a bunch of stuff. The pictures he gave me and everything, I was like, oh, how am I gonna do this and everything? Yeah. So I decided to make the word Moten stand out and pictures inside the word Moten. Yeah. So that you can see what he's representing and what he's about. When you come by and look at it, first catch your eye is him in the middle with his trophies. Yeah. Then you say, okay, this is Moten. You know, so you don't get it confused. It's Moten. Yeah. Once you see that, you're like, oh, what did he do? And you see all the things that represent him. Yeah, man. And that makes you want to actually look up and find out more information about him. Absolutely. And
at the end of the day, it speaks legacy, man.
Right, right.
If nothing else, that's what he represents.
That's what he represents.
Hidden in my peripheral, I see it from an angle.
We're back here on the Bro Code Show with my man Adam Williams. Bro Smith, what you got, man?
Well, right before the break, you were talking about your start, you know, WRAL and getting that curiosity call, so to speak, to kind of start your journey in media. You know, you've been in media now for 20 plus years. I'm curious if you ever get starstruck with, you know, any of the people that walk in and out of that building.
Yeah, so besides working at WRAL, I have a business also, and I deal with a lot of celebrities on that side too. But kind of like a NDA, non-disclosure agreement. So I don't mention everybody I deal with because they call me up personally and they want to keep that personal. Yeah. And then on top of that, I work for a lot of companies out there that a lot of people don't know, but I work for other companies out there that do pretty much the same thing. So when they hire me out, you know, I can't say, hey, I done that project or whatever. So, but back to WRAL, starstruck. When I first got there, kind of, you know, like I would see David Crabtree, Pam Salisbury and all that. But once working with them, it was like how we're talking right now, and then we got to know each other, so it's kind of like a family. We just, you know, cool after that. With my business outside, a lot of people look at me like, man, you met this person, you talked to this person, and I'd be like, yeah, but they're just like us, you know, and stuff like that, because a lot of them will call me up, big time celebrities like, hey, I need this done right now, and if I get it done right now, I'll go ahead and pay you double or whatever. And I'm like, look, everybody has to get in queue, you know, and when you make your payment, everybody's in queue, so I can't let you jump in front of this other person. And they would get mad at me at first, but then it started being respect, and it was like, okay, we respect that, you know. And that's all in business, I guess, still carrying on to this day. A lot of people have businesses like mine with the graphics and stuff. They're always changing the name or shut it down and start something else to do whatever. Mine's is still what it was from the beginning. Even if you looked up the Better Business Bureau, no complaints or nothing since started.
How will people find you? You know, what's the IG tag if they want to have you do some of their work? How would they find you?
I try to stay where you have to search for me to find me, because I'm busy, like booked every day, like overbooked, you know, with work. So I try to keep it that way. But you know, to announce it on you guys, one way to find me is just go to the website AZHEA.com. Spells Asia. When you go there, it just takes you to like my Facebook business page, and with that you'll see like examples. You might hit a message, or you'll see the number up there, and you just call the number, and that way, you know, you leave a message or whatever. Because getting in touch with me is very hard, you know.
So AZHEA.com. Tell me more about the name. How did that come about?
All right, that name started off a while back, as we were talking before the break and everything. I got into bad places, and when I got into bad places, everybody knew me for Adam and Ole, me and my brother. So my name is Adam, and my brother's name is Ole, or Olaf, and they call him Ole for short. So people, when my brother was out there hustling and doing the things, he made a name for himself. People was like, Adam and Ole, Adam and Ole. Oh, I heard about this, and he kept that crew around him that was really, really bad, you know. So whenever things happened, it was always an Adam and Ole situation, and I was like, how do I cut myself away from that? So I listened to Nas all the time, and Nas had a verse. I guess he did something, and he mentioned something about Egypt or whatever. I was like, oh, that's a good name. That's a good name. I can use it. But then I started looking it up, and other people had that name. So I was like, all right. So, you know, a brother with, you know, a different background, if I name myself Asia and kind of cover myself so nobody never see me or whatever, how would my business do? Would they think they're talking to an Asian guy or something like that? And you know, this is work is getting done. So when that happened, business started to boom. You know, when I changed my name and I did all that, not really go to this place and change the name, but just by nickname. And I had everybody calling me by the nickname, whatever. So then people thought I was a different person. They was like, they even come up to me, you know, Adam Ole, you look like Adam. And I'm like, oh, cool, you know. But then it was like where when I did business, people would even say to me, I thought an Asian dude did this. This work is so hot, you know, and all this stuff. And I didn't know you was behind this or whatever. And that goes to the mural with Lavelle. Me and Lavelle used to go to Enloe back.
Before you tap dance on that, right? Okay. Before you go on that, so I have to ask, and thank you for that. That really makes sense, right? When it comes to representation, you were moving away from one space in your life into another one, right? So you have a new name, and you really did that. Like you really, yeah, man, I love it. But what can people? What's different? So you're busy. I understand it, what you're saying, like Rolex and Lamborghini don't need commercials. Why? Because it's Rolex and Lamborghini. If you can afford that, you'll go get it.
Or Tesla.
Or Tesla, we're going to talk about that. What makes AZHEA Entertainment different? Like, you stay busy, and everyone is in that lane of media, but what makes you different? What can people expect working with you?
All right, so what makes me different is when I started the business, before I started the business, I went out and tried to get somebody to do a flyer for me. And when I walked around, I was like, going to places, calling people up, hey, how much to get a flyer done? And they was like, oh, it's $100 or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have that money to do that. And so one day I just sat back and I said, let me try this myself. And I did a flyer because I'm like, I know I'm an artist, so why don't I just try to do something? And I did it for myself. And then somebody that I knew was like, hey, do me one. And I did them a flyer. And then after that, it just took off because everybody started saying, who did that? Who did that? And then they were like, oh, the guy AZHEA, he does flyers and all that type of stuff. And I didn't do flyers back then. I was just limited to only doing what I wanted to do for myself. And then I was like, okay, I'll dabble in it a little bit. So I started working, doing like flyers for people and all that. And it seemed like branching off to everybody. So once I did a flyer for this person, that person, now that person is telling 3 other people, this person telling 4 people, that person. So now I got 15 people now coming to me. Now those 15 people, as long as you do your work right, and you treat people with respect and you're not trying to scam them or nothing, then people have respect for you and start, you know, like putting the word out.
That's a good form of business, and we talk about that all the time. You are your own product. Right? The work speaks for itself. I love it. Well, Kurt, what you got, man?
No, so we jump into the mural, right?
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
So he mentioned the mural earlier from the mayor.
Right.
But we had the opportunity to come and see the mural, right? The unveiling for Lavelle.
Yep, absolutely.
Man, I've seen a lot of murals.
Yeah.
Thousands. I've never seen one like that.
Oh, wow.
The level of detail.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because you're sitting here.
Yeah.
Anybody who has seen it, like the level of detail, it's a story. It's not just his name.
Right.
Man, I was in awe. And I know the bros were. Right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about it, how it came about, how you actually work with Sean and all the parts of it.
Okay. So with that said, Kendrick Mims, he was friends with Lavelle.
Okay.
So I did a flyer for Kendrick, and he has the Rivals Barbershop in Durham. So they did some type of community giveaway or something. So they did the flyer. Lavelle saw it. He was like, oh man, I like that. Put me up with this person. So then Lavelle calls me up, and I'm like, I know this dude. I know him from somewhere. So me and Lavelle, you know, rewind. We go back to being in high school as friends in high school and stuff like that. But once I did what I did and dropped out, I separated myself from everybody back then, and Lavelle hadn't seen me for like 27 something years or whatever. So he calls me up. He don't even know it's me because it's AZHEA, not Adam anymore. So he's talking to me, and we're talking, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I can do that. I can handle that for you or whatever. But I was just keeping it professional. So I didn't say, hey, Lavelle, you know me, right? You know, nothing like that. So I just keep it professional and everything. And Lavelle was like, all right, you're going to be the man to start doing my graphics and stuff. So I started doing his graphics for about maybe 2 or 3 years. And then he hits me up and says, hey, you know, I love your work. I got a mural I want you to do. I'm going to just give you stuff. You put it together how you want. And remind you, I put the first thing together, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do something. You know, I did it because I felt like he needed it quick. So I did it quick or whatever, and gave it to him like within maybe 3 days, and he loved it. But then I was like, I just need to change it up a little bit. I'm not really feeling it. I know he's liking it, but I'm not feeling it like that. So I changed it up, did a couple more things to it. He told me about the storyline to it. He said that, hey, can you do something to kind of represent me coming from here, going to there, and all that type of stuff. So what I did, I started off with a sidewalk, and that sidewalk was like, you know, walking through looking at the wall and saying, hey, that's Lavelle, this, he did Olympics, he did this, he did that, you know, he was a basketball coach, he does all this stuff, and what is this at the end, you know? And so I did all of that based off what he told me. Once I put it together, he saw it, he loved it. So then he's like, that's gonna be my mural. He showed me what another graphic artist did, and he was like, I thought it was nice. Honestly, I look up to all the graphic artists around here. I don't snub any of them or whatever, because before I was the one coming to them saying, hey, I love your work, I want this, I want that. And I watched a lot of them and kind of developed myself by watching a lot of them, but kind of like how you kind of get like all the fresh ingredients and put it into a pot together and make this superhero or whatever. And that's what I became, because I took stuff from this artist, that artist, that artist, that artist, and kind of put it together to make one like all mixture all together. So I'm not like a person that only can do one thing. You know, you can turn me around and do, like I mentioned to you, I used to do graffiti, you know, on the walls, and I could have did my mural back then, but I'm so busy. I don't have the time for it.
Well, talk to us about that. You talk about graffiti. How did Sean connect?
All right, so with Lavelle, this was something through Lavelle. So he worked with somebody with the city of Raleigh, I think it's Bud or something like that. And what Bud does is have Sean hired out to do these murals around Raleigh and everything. And it was a time that I felt like my design wasn't going to make it, because Lavelle hits me up and he's like, hey, they're sending other stuff and I don't like it or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, you know, but he showed it to me. I was like, yeah, it'll be all right. But, you know, I think the thing is like, if you took this picture that I did, and after you get the mural done, you got to remember, like, do you want this or that? And if you hold mine up and you say, oh man, I should have went with this, you know. So Lavelle sat back and he was like, man, I love your work. He was like, I'm not letting that go. This is what it is. This is what it's going to be. I don't care who says what. And other graphic artists was pitching ideas left and right. But he was like, that's not working. This is what it's going to be. So with that said, I guess the city of Raleigh had Sean to put my image onto the wall. So he projected it up there and made it. And I always looked up at Sean because we did the news all the time. I was like, oh man, Sean does the type of work that I would see back when I was in New York. And I was like, that's pretty high. I was like, you know, one day I'll meet him. I might even work with him or whatever and stuff like that. And that was that opportunity. So I was, you know, blessed to have that.
That's really dope.
And so I've seen your flyers, by the way. I've seen Lavelle.
Appreciate it.
The flyers are good.
I thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff. I mean, like, not only flyers, but, you know, I'm multi-talented, so I can do whatever. If you put me behind something, like behind the cameras, I can do that. You know, you put me in a restaurant, I haven't, like, she's mad because I haven't cooked for her, like, I haven't cooked in 20 something years, because that's the thing, like, once I cut something off from the past, and that's just like with the Thug Life or whatever, when I cut it off, I just wipe it out of my memory.
I was going to ask you about that too when we were talking about food. I was wondering, but that answered that question, right? No more of that.
Well, there's going to be one day I'm gonna do that.
20 years is a long time.
It's 20-something years. But, and I'm going to send y'all pictures so you can put up here, but there's trophies and stuff when I was in these competitions and stuff like that. So I do have that proof there. You know, that I did my thing.
Put some respect on the name.
Put the respect on it.
So what do you do for fun, man? I hear you saying how you're so busy, and I've seen your resume and the work. What do you do when it's just time to relax?
Really, for me, it's never a time. That's the thing. It's never a time to relax, but sometimes it comes to that point where I do have some downtime, and then I'll spend it with family, you know, and that's it. But as soon as I try, all these calls are coming in. As soon as I think that, you know, I have time to myself, all the calls coming in. My goal before Corona hit was to cut a day away for myself to work on my own projects and stuff like that. So before Corona hit, I went to New York to meet with my uncles, the ones I was telling you guys about, and they had some things set up for me. So when I got to New York, ended up seeing Tracy Morgan, Dave East, and all that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my show together and do all this stuff. It didn't go down like it was planned. Corona hit while I was there. And I'm talking about being on the train and the guy sitting beside me, his red eyes and like passing out and doing stuff like that and sweating and everything. And it's hot, it's crazy, like hot, like he's just sweating and everything. And there's a homeless guy right there in front of me, and he's have snot coming out his nose that like it's frozen and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, how am I gonna get home and not bring back Corona or whatever? So, luckily, everything was fine. When I got back, I, made sure everything was fine. But yeah, it set back a lot of things. And then when I got back to Raleigh, North Carolina, on top of that, the TV station wanted me to work overtime hours now because of the coronavirus hitting. We need more coverage and all that type of stuff. So now I can't really go about my plan. And hopefully, I'm still trying to set myself up to work on my own projects.
Sure.
And that's when I mentioned to you about the equipment and stuff like that. Every time I buy equipment, I always get busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
That equipment sits in the closet for like maybe 5 or 6 years, and it's out of date now. So I got to the point where I don't buy anything until I'm ready now. That's it.
Yeah.
If you're just checking in, we're right here with my man Adam Williams, jack of all trades, super producer, past thug, used media now. Grandma turned him from a diamond in the rough, baby. Now, Sue used to be a chef too. Now this dude does it all, man. But we're right here with the Bro Code Show. What you got, Bro Kirk?
Listen, so we're in Raleigh.
Yeah.
It's growing.
Oh, yeah.
You've seen it grow.
Right.
You're downtown.
Right.
Do you think it can turn into Atlanta? Like when we talk about the culture and the things that Atlanta has?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but what I could say right now, it does have potential, because the first thing I would see it going to is being like Charlotte. And the reason why I say that, because Atlanta is more of, culture and stuff like that. Charlotte is more of like business stuff like that. So when you're talking about downtown, they're not going to want to change it to that culture.
Right.
They're going to do whatever they can to stop that, because the last thing I heard, they're building a soccer stadium down there. And when they do that, that culture is going to have to be outside of that. They're not going to allow a lot of things that we would want to see down there, And they're looking for multi-million-dollar businesses off top, not something that's going to build itself there, because there is black-owned businesses that they can get downtown and do their thing. They can be a multi-million-dollar business, but they want something that's already going to pitch in and come in with that. And that's where it's going to be hard to see it. But first, I see Charlotte before Atlanta.
Okay.
And that's where I see everything going.
I can dig that.
Well, if you're just checking in, we got my man Adam Williams right here on the Bro Code Show. We'll be right back.
So I'm gonna bring it back in.
Never had a shot, God threw me the alley-oop. I believe I can fly. Let me mingle with the angels. Heaven's in my peripheral. I see it.
We'll be right back on the Bro Code Show after a brief word from our sponsors. We all we got in the Bro Code Show.
Now we don't want to zoom past our partnerships.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that, man. Partnerships and relationships are key, right? We talk about a fist, not a finger. We can do more with more.
Yeah.
We can do more collectively together. So clearly, we gotta shout out our sponsors, Papa Murphy's Pizza. We appreciate the relationship, continue the relationship. They understand the value of not just partnerships, but voice and amplifying that in a spirit of excellence. And we do that very well here on the Bro Code Show. For those that may want to connect with the Bro Code Show, talk about those partnerships, how we can market your brand, your idea, your vision, and your business, please connect with us at 919-714-9905 or go to @BroCodeShow on Instagram. We look forward to what's next. It's your boy, Bro Troy,
Bro Smith, Bro Kirk,
and we are the Bro Code.
we all we got.
Heaven's in my peripheral. I see it from an angle.
We're back on the Bro Code Show. Got my man Adam Williams. Adams, we talk about a lot, man, from music to entertainment to on the streets to food, cooking. Yeah, man, you really got me on that one. I used to be a big boy.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
nonetheless, man, we're not gonna go there, man. Food hits a little different for this one. So, but I did notice though, you do have a love for exotic cars, more so the fondness for Tesla. So tell me a little bit more about that, man. Tell us about your babies. Talk to us about that, what that hit, how that hits for you.
If people know me, I had all types of cars and exotic cars or whatever, and I always kept myself like with the foreigns and everything you can think of, the AMGs, the BMW M series and all that type of stuff. So, throughout the years, that's what I had. And it was 2013, I went to New Jersey, Paramus, I believe. We was in the mall, and me and my fiance, we was in there, and we saw a little pop-up shop in the middle of the mall, and not really in the middle, but it's in a store, and they had like 3 cars in there, and it was Tesla, and I was like, sounds familiar, but I never heard of this, and I was like, what are they doing? I thought it was like maybe radio installation. So I was like, yeah, this is something interesting or whatever. So we walk in, we look at it, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like the look or whatever, but it has a lot of space inside, but it's all right, whatever. And we end up leaving. I'm still driving the BMWs, the Mercedes, AMG, all that stuff. And I was like, it doesn't, compare to that. By looks, it don't compare. So years pass by, and I end up seeing the owner of WRAL driving up with different Teslas. And I was like, he's like a billionaire, I think. So I was like, being that he's a billionaire, I was like, maybe this is a sign or something. Maybe it's something behind this. And I look up to him because he's about his business and he does his thing. Not only that, but he reaches out to the people, and you can talk to him just like a friend or whatever. So
good to know.
He ended up, the owner, Jim Goodman Sr., he ends up sending an email out to all the employees saying, hey, if y'all want to meet with me and talk to me, just hit me up with an email, let me know, and I'll sit down with you guys or whatever, and we can do a one-on-one or whatever. So I hit him up. I was like, this is the opportunity. I see that Tesla driving through it or anything. I need to know more about it or whatever. And I guess my biggest thing first, really honestly, was to talk to him about my pay.
Instantly, yeah. So I can get one of those Teslas, right?
So I said, let me find something that he likes, and then we can talk about it while I'm talking about the pay.
Smart man.
So, we ended up having a meeting. So he's like, yeah, I'll meet with you. I'll meet with you. So I take my check with me, and I was like, hey, he was like, let's go to Cup of Joe. That's one of his favorite places, So like a big billionaire to go you wouldn't even know, sitting in Cup of Joe drinking a drink or whatever. And we go to a couple of Joes and we sat down, we talk and everything. He was like, so, what is your interest or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I'm interested in that Tesla. Tell me more about it and everything. He was like, yeah, that's the best car I ever had and all this stuff. And I was like, my mind was just like blank, just like, what about my money? What about my money? And then I was like, hey, also I wanted to talk to you about something. I was like, it's been bothering me, my pay or whatever. And he takes a check, he looks at it, he's like, oh, we're going to give me that. He puts it in his pocket, we're going to talk about that or whatever, we're going to handle it. And then we started talking back about Tesla. So he had the Model S and the Model X. The Model 3 wasn't even out at the time. So he drives up with the Model X and he's like, yeah, I love the Tesla and all that. And he's like, I'm actually a big investor in Tesla. He was like, you need to jump on that too. And I was like, back then I was like, and I think this was 2015. And I was like, you're a billionaire. I was like, I ain't got no money. I don't know nothing about investing or whatever. So I don't know nothing about this or whatever. I was saying that to myself, but I was just shaking my head like, yeah. And he was like, yeah, you need to invest, take some money, put it into your stocks or whatever. And back then they didn't have the easy stocks. It wasn't a cash up. You have to actually go and find a financial guide to set you up. They charge your arm and leg to do that. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that, whatever. And we still started talking about Tesla and about getting the car and everything. So then I walk away from that meeting. I was like, hopefully he looked at my check and get that straight. And that's all it was. But unfortunately, things didn't really happen, because he's outside trying to handle everything. So it didn't happen like that, but he tried, But besides that, I was like, okay, maybe I should start looking into this. So I started going to the gym, and while I'm on the cycle or whatever, I'll pull up videos, and all of a sudden Tesla videos pop up. And
they're listening.
It would be like, yeah, right. And it would be like people talking about why I hate my Tesla or whatever. And then they'll talk about things that they hate with Tesla, but then at the end, I love this car, I'll buy it, I'll keep it. And I was like, okay. So then I started watching other videos and people going on, because I was like, okay, if you buy a Tesla, you might not be able to get out of town because of the range or whatever. But then there's people going from here to Florida or whatever, and I was like, how do they do that? And I started watching, like, oh, this is cool. This is amazing the way they do it. They stop at these superchargers, they charge and everything. Not only that, but it's free or all that. And I was like, I probably need to get on that. So then I started just doing more and more research into it. And finally, 2016, I ended up placing an order for one. And it's not like an easy thing where you can place an order and walk onto the dealership to purchase. They don't have what they call dealerships, they have offices. So when you place your order, you have to watch everything online. And my order was they said, yeah, we can deliver it, $2,000, deliver it to your house. And I was like, nah, I don't want it delivered to my house. I'll go wherever you at to buy it, to find it or whatever. They was like, yeah, we're in Jersey or whatever. And so he sent me pictures of the car, so I'm looking at it, and you can't really tell if it got bumps on it or dents or whatever. And I was like, yeah, you know, I love it. And at the time, I had the custom BMW. Yeah. And I was going to trade it in for that. BMW head was flawless. Had no scars, no scratches, no nothing on it. And I kept it flawless and everything. And even that's what we had men at work. They kept that car clean, you know. And I was like, I'm probably gonna lose everything. This is like playing poker, and I might give my hand up, and it's just gonna go bad. So I was like, I'm gonna just take it. I'm gonna just take that risk. I saw the videos. I saw people talking about it. I want the fun that they're having. And I ended up going to New Jersey, me and my fiance, and we go up there, and I take the car, get ready to trade it in, and people want to buy it off me. Dude got it right before I was able to trade it in. And I was like, okay, cool. You know, this helped me with a little money. Went and looked at the car. Me and fiance walked around the car, and it didn't even look like the pictures. The pictures looked beat up. Yeah. Like they took it from like a iPhone 3 or something. Yeah. And it was like washed out and everything. So that's what scared me. But we walked around the car, I was like, oh shoot, this is dope. You know, I was like, this ain't the same car or whatever. And
then the same car you have now?
Yeah.
So talk to me now, because it doesn't look like that now. Right. So what have you done to it? Like, talk to me what you've done to this car.
So when I purchased it, you know, and that's the whole thing that goes with Teslas. Like, they back their words up and everything. A lot of people don't know that, but when I walked around that car at the dealership, I saw a line on it. And they even told me before I got to New Jersey, hey, there's a scratch on it. You sure you want this car? And I was like, yeah, I want it, because I've been waiting. I took my day off or whatever. Right. I want it, you know. And so I get there and I look at it, and me and my fiance walked around and looked at it, and she was like, oh man. And the thing was like a line like this. And the guy walked away, and I took my arm and rubbed it, and it was just compound. And they thought it was a scratch, because Tesla don't wash cars.
Use that to your advantage. You should have left that thing.
Yeah, so I did leave it there. So the guy walks out with a notepad. He was like, how about if I give you this? And it was $4,000 check. And I was like, oh,
that might work.
I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that works. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. And then he gave me the check, and then I was like, this might be a sign. So it's already starting off good. So then I'm driving, and I put it into autopilot on the way home on 95.
That had to have been dope.
Yeah. So she's sitting beside me.
A little scary though at the beginning, right? I know you can only imagine, like
it is. And 95, right. Jersey Turnpike and all that. It's scary, but I got to the point where now I can see everything. So I'm looking and checking out the environment, looking at the scenery and all that stuff while the car is doing its thing. It's going 95 on 95. Taking curves left and right, going through traffic and all that stuff.
That's sporty.
So she's beside me like that, just frozen, like, oh my God, you know, you're gonna kill us or whatever. And I just put my hands in the autopilot, letting it go. And then I'm like this, going to sleep, waking up every couple of minutes, and just go back to sleep and wake up a couple of minutes. And we're going through traffic and everything. And she sometimes she didn't even think that I went to sleep. And she was like just chilling, you know, like, okay. And it took, in the autopilot, driving from New York, New Jersey back to Raleigh, North Carolina, it made me feel like I drove 3 hours, because the car did most of the driving.
Yeah. Let's talk more about that, man. What you got, bro, Kirk?
So, experience-wise, could you go back to driving a BMW?
Never.
Like, it's not happening.
Never. It's not happening.
So it's funny, because I had a friend who had one, and I'm a Dodge person. I love the fast cars. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, well, come take a ride with me.
Right.
I took like a 5-minute ride. Yeah. And it was like, I don't believe, it's the best car ride ever.
It is. And then if you put that ludicrous mode on, 0 to 60 in 2 point something.
No, but it doesn't even feel like you're moving.
Yeah.
That's a little scary.
It pins you to your seat.
It pins you to the seat. Yeah.
2 seconds, 0 to 60.
But it's so quiet too.
Yeah. So,
I love that, man. We talked about a lot. You know, we did a little research too, Adam. You know, we talked about cars. You talked about your fiance multiple times. You're very, you know, you said this earlier, that you keep to yourself. So the things that you share on social media is what you want to share, right? Very intentional about that. Yep. And I think we should be, right? You can be who you want to be. But we did a little research, and we got 3 pictures off of your social media that we felt kind of exemplify some of the stories and embody what we talked about today. We just want you to talk through it. Okay. Who's in the picture?
Okay.
What you're doing and why you shared it with the world. We're going to start with that one.
All right. First picture y'all see is Scotty McCurry and myself. That day I was doing a wedding because I do video and stuff like that, and I was shooting a wedding with me and one of my partners that do videos and stuff, Al Robertson from WRAL, shooting a wedding for Monica LaLiberty. She hired us to come out and do the wedding and stuff. And definitely, she has a lot of people, you know, well-known people in the wedding and everything. And I see Scotty, and we talked. This is a cool dude, like you wouldn't believe, and he's from Garner. So, you know, we actually talked, had a good conversation and everything, and down to earth. I mean, you wouldn't believe it, you know, down to earth dude. Definitely fun to be around, cool to be around. I saw him at his crazy moments that a lot of you guys won't see because a little tipsy or whatever. But then I saw him at the good moments.
Telling on everybody.
Yeah, right.
Telling on everybody, bro.
Yeah. So, but you know, he did keep his composure. He was a great dude and all that stuff. He did what he did.
Yeah.
We had fun, and you know, this guy down to earth, and I'm glad to have that experience with him.
I love it. Tell me about this one.
All right, that picture right there is when we actually made a trip to. Me and my fiance made a trip to Tennessee, and we Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and I would never went to Tennessee, but she wanted to go and try it out and check it out and everything. A lot of people from my area or whatever would never want to go to Tennessee. But that was like one of the best trips that we did ever. I mean, we went to Dollywood. Me at Dollywood, I never thought that, but Dollywood was like the best theme park that I've been to in a while. So that picture you seen was at a place called Beyond the Lens. And what that is like an illusion museum and everything. So if you haven't tried illusion museums, check it out and try it. It definitely can bring out your character.
Love it. Good stuff, man. Tell us about this last one.
All right. This picture right here goes way back to days with my family in the music business and me doing the TV show Soul Lab. So in this picture, on my right side is Jim Jones, on my left side is Dibs. And I just got a fresh tattoo that day, and we're all comparing tattoos and stuff like that. We know each other like way back in the days and stuff like that. And Dibs was a big time producer back in the days. He did Lil Kim, I guess a bunch of people from Biggie Smalls to whatever. Then Jim Jones wasn't really into music back then. He was just like the hype man or the Dipset or whatever. And he's about business, so he knew his business. He had the business mindset and everything. And played behind the scenes, kind of like one of the guys behind the scenes. So that was just an off picture. We just caught, my brother, he was there with me, so just caught that picture of us just chilling, going places and stuff like that.
Good deal, man. I love it. I love it. We're going to switch it up just a little bit, man. We've asked you a whole lot of questions, man, and we appreciate you being here for this Bro Code experience. Okay. But this segment right here is called Flip the Script.
Flip the script, y'all.
Flip the script, baby. So now you get a chance to ask us a question individually or collectively.
Okay.
The mic is yours.
So what I'm going to do is throw out my first question, and that goes to any of you guys can answer it. You know, how did the Bro Code come along?
Yeah,
well, first of all, I'm going to do a Troy thing. First of all, I want to know what does the Bro Code stand for?
Go ahead. We get this one all the time. But
I'll take the first part. So Father's Day 2020 is when we kicked it off.
Okay.
We were already doing a number of things in the community, but given that everything got shut down, the world got shut down, we had all these ideas, and we wanted to make sure that we gave ourselves and others an opportunity to have a voice.
Okay.
And we had a lot of things we wanted to get off our chest as well, to inform the masses, especially when it came to social justice and unrest. This is right after the George Floyd murder, and ever since, we're about 75 episodes in, and being able to transition it from behind the screen to now doing it out in person. But that was really the impetus, was really wanting to have our voice be heard.
Okay.
Indeed.
Cool. All right.
And I'll add to that, not only be heard, but control the narrative.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So we control what we want to talk about.
Exactly.
And which guests we want to bring on, and that's powerful.
Right.
The bro code, for me, part of it is the community. I'll start with that, and we can all break that down. Speaking about the community and what's happening, and not only that, 3 black men who really care about that community, the village of it, and going back to what that should look like.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I think from a platform perspective, I know from a platform perspective, it's self-explanatory, right? We're bros and we have a code. You know, people talk about that all the time. But above and beyond a platform perspective, it's a lifestyle. It's something that we live, whether it's through our voice, through the community, or the code, a set of standards that we treat ourselves, which it starts with us. And then now that boils over into how we treat others. Not specifically just for men, but all people. You know, again, it turns into the bro code when you find dope dudes that share those same values. Right. But at the end of the day, the code is how we treat people, man. How we treat ourselves, what we reflect in the words that we speak about ourselves, how we treat our bodies. Right. So yeah, man, that's really what embodies the code and what it means to us.
Gotcha. So my question is, how did y'all get to meet each other and get together? You know,
well, it started with the mission-driven work, man. You know, Y4C. Young Men for Christ, life skills, character-based education, physical activity. We speak life and share the voices for the underserved, more specifically young men ages 7 to 17. That's my purpose, that's my why. And in doing that work, Light attracts light. You know, I was working with Jay at another company prior to this. No plugs, right? Ain't was nobody. But anyway, in doing that type of work, I've always had a bold personality. I've always stood out. Fitting in was never an option for me, right? And in that, I didn't fit in, and that it went another direction, and I had to find another way. And I always thought, we joked about this in another episode, that I've always been a rebel without a cause. So when I figured out my purpose of sparking creative mindsets in young people and understanding that I am a servant leader and taking on that role throughout all of my life, every piece of my life it embodies such. This was a thought, so he stayed in communication with me when I started doing this. He came alongside, and then I just interviewed Kirk on social media. You know, he was, had started a movement, Mr. Whatever It Takes, and he was speaking about leaving corporate. It was more service-driven, and that's how he started his service-driven initiative, was using that moniker and really giving the hearts of people. And I just saw what he was doing. I loved what he was doing. I watched him. He was consistent. So, this is what I'm doing. I want you to come talk to the kids. And I was interviewing them. After that, we ate a couple times, shared ideas, and been together ever since. Here we are 3 years later.
Gotcha. So you said y'all been together for 3 years?
Yeah. Almost 4.
Well, doing the work 3 years. I've known Jay probably almost 6-7 years now. And Kirk came alongside about 3 years ago.
So let's say 3 years. So 3 years from now, where do you see yourself going?
We keep getting that question, man. That's
y'all keep getting that?
That's a great question. Thank you for that. Words matter. It helps us to continue to speak things into existence.
Yeah, I'm going to start with, we started this and we keep using the term podcast. But we produce it. So we feel like it's a show. So in my mind, where do you see shows? That's where I think we're going to end up. And I think that we're reaching people that people want to hear, like yourself. Right? And we're doing it in a positive way. And we really believe, and you said the word earlier, dreams. We're writing this stuff down, man. We believe it can go where we want to take it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And see, I think the thing with podcasts now is just being used, even if you do a show. That's going to be just the title. It's just going to be called podcasts these days. We have shows at WRAL that we're listed as podcasts, even though it airs on TV. It's a podcast. So I don't see that as like being anything bad, but it's going to be your step up right there too. So that's good.
Not really much to add on to it. I don't want to limit myself. But I hope it could be something that can be syndicated. I hope it could be something that can be replicated. That schools, businesses, and all sorts of environments may want to have a version of it on their platform so that they can educate their
Definitely.
All that and all that comes about from work ethic. That's it. That's what it comes down to.
And dedication.
Absolutely. The sky's not the limit to view. You go as far as you go. So you keep working, those things will come. So if you're just checking in, we got my man Adam Williams. We'll be right back on the Bro Code Show.
that shot, God threw me the alley hoop. I believe I can fly. Let me mingle with the angels. Heaven's in my periphery.
We'll be right back on the Bro Code Show after a brief word from our sponsors. We all we got. The Bros just got stronger. We've added a new member to the team, A. Ruth Proctor. The blonde bombshell herself will be hosting this new segment called The Proctor Report. This segment will share behind-the-scenes footage and engage questions from our listeners from a female point of view. Tap in to the Bro Code. Stay tuned for a new segment on the Bro Code Show called The Rehash. You'll learn more about the bros personally and what drives them as men and community leaders. The Rehash will be available on YouTube and all audio podcast platforms every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tap in to the Bro Code.
Heaven's in my peripheral, I see it from an angle.
We're back on the Bro Code Show. We're getting ready to wrap this thing up, Adam. This is our last segment. This one's called Calling Them Out.
Yep.
In this segment right here, have you had a good time? Have you enjoyed the Bro Code experience?
Yeah, so, without the drinks though.
Yeah. This time. We'll talk about that later, man. But on this segment, we want you to look in that camera right there.
Okay.
And I want you to call out those who would really appreciate a Bro Code experience.
All right. So I'm gonna go down the list. It doesn't mean like any order or whatever. I already know how some people might feel. But Mike Phillips, this is where we're doing a location at. This is a guy that you got lots of history going on. He's definitely a businessman and about his business and stuff like that. One of the guys from college, one of my college experiences was Jerome Gay, now Pastor Jerome Gay. Definitely somebody to look into. Sean Ingram. Kindred Mims with the Rivals Barbershop, because he definitely hooked me up to get that mural done or whatever. If it wasn't for him. Troy Dye, he's one of the locals here, has a barbershop also, but he also was the winner of Cooks and Cons, if y'all ever see that show on the Cooking Channel or whatever. Also Jonathan's of Jonathan Nightclub. He's the guy
off Newburgh.
Well, no, it's off Rock Quarry Road. Yep. So that's one of the people, the book author, which we call him Author Melvin Adams. He's a club promoter and he has books and stuff like that. He has a lot of history in this area. Jay Manifest Wiggins, this is the guy that has the Legion of Music studio. It used to be right there off Trawick Road. I don't know exactly where it's at now, but he did work with people from Rick Ross to you name it. These are pretty much big people around. Travis Cherry, went to visit him in Atlanta, but he's actually up here. He went to St. Aug also. He has a lot of ties. He did music for J-Lo, produced a lot of celebrities. He's a Grammy Award winner, so he's definitely up to there. Cayenne the Lion King. This is a guy that goes in Durham. He does a lot of music, reggae artists. He does a lot of stuff in the community also, helping out with people and stuff like that. D.Y. Powell started a radio station not too long ago, the Hot 97 here in Raleigh. We go way back. Back when I was living that bad life, D.Y. was, when I started a TV show, we started working together on a lot of stuff. Besides that, A.G. Thomas, he's a singer. If y'all know about Rough Riders, he was Paulie in that group, Rough Riders. Definitely, he has a lot of history and stuff like that with the music industry. One person that I can't forget to shout out was my brother, Olaf Williams. He's an artist. He's the one that kept me into art. So if it wasn't for him, I would have been that chef or whatever, just cooking up stuff. But he was like, drawing and everything, and it was almost a competition between the two of us. I'm the day and he's the night. So when he draw his pictures, it was the dark side, and I'm drawing the good stuff. And
Yeah, that's it. So
I appreciate you bringing that laundry list of people.
Oh,
I just know we're gonna need some help to get everybody shouted out.
Oh, yeah.
On the like that was like the 12 commandments. You had a scroll going on there. I was like,
hey, it's not hard because you got social media right now.
Yeah.
So social media, all it does, you look up those names, you take that, send that tag to them, and they're like, oh, definitely the bro code. If Adam was on there, and I'll definitely do it too.
Love it.
Yeah.
So earlier before the show, we always talk about words mattering, and words do matter, right? So we asked you, what is one word that you use to encourage yourself, or one word that you use that resonates with your heart, makes you feel good. Now the word you used was August.
Yes.
Now you told me you're born.
I was born in
August.
Yep.
But it means impressive. It means respectful. So we want to do something special for you. What you got, Brother Kurt?
Yeah, so we got a $2 bill here.
Okay.
And a $2 bill, is rare.
It's rare.
Right?
It's definitely rare. Yeah.
We feel like you're rare, bro.
Wow.
It says you matter on the front, and it says Adam. And I'll be honest, I thought August was just a month.
Right.
You had me
Hey,
go,
y'all look it up. Do that research. Look it up.
Oh, we did.
I'm saying the audience, the viewers, and everything. Y'all, look it up and look it up as an adjective, not for the month. What it is, but the adjective.
But we want to give you the $2 bill. It's something that we do for our guests.
Okay.
We just want you to know how important you are.
I
Thank you for your
that.
story, bro.
Definitely.
And thank you for coming on our show.
Yeah. And see, Troy, you didn't even get to me about the shirt.
Sexy.
Oh,
you know what? I didn't see it. Yeah. I thought it was Tesla too. Yeah.
So this is the Model S, Model 3, Model X, and the Model Y.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they put all of it together. Yeah. They put all that
That's
together.
it. Look,
I thought
y'all.
he was feeling himself.
Hey, that could have been a little bit of it too, though. Right?
Yeah. So the anonyms just spells out
all
sexy
the models
and all the models and stuff like that.
Tesla.
So that's the crazy thing about Tesla is like it's about having what they call Easter eggs all the time. Like as you get the car, I had the car for a while, and since I had it, it hasn't got old. It got newer each year.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff on it, like he'll send out an update each month, and each month it'll be kind of like a Christmas gift. So now I'm saying to it like, open butthole, and it opens up the charge port, or play video games. Give me 2 strips of bacon on my seat, and the seat warmers come on, and stuff like that. And it's so much stuff like
you said it, but you set it up to those words. Meaning that
he did it. He sends out an update. Once you take that update, then now you can do it automatically and stuff like that.
Well, we're gonna have another episode to talk about that, man. We're gonna
that's a lot.
Yeah,
like for example, what impressed me, back to the impressions about it. When I got home, this is Tesla talk. Tesla talk. Look, when I got home, and I said to myself, like, this car really drives itself and stuff, and I get on my app and I look at my app and I'm like, okay, it says it can go into your garage or whatever. So I hit the button, walk into the house, it opens up my garage door, it goes in there, it closes the garage door, it turns itself off. I'm like, oh man, this is
I just got
different level, man.
I just got Tesla solar panels, so
I have the solar panels and I have the power walls. I have 2 of them.
I'm debating. We'll talk.
Yeah. So
we got to do another episode on that, man. We got to close this thing up. Look, this man loves it. Keep buying it.
And I named the car Black Adam. I named it Black Adam, and y'all gonna see why I named it Black Adam.
We saw you put it downtown.
Well, I'm saying like why the name, because when you get the car, you have to give it a unique name. And I finally convinced my fiance to drop that G-Wagon. Everybody loves G-Wagon.
Yeah.
That's garbage. Drop the G-Wagon, get the Model 3. She got the Model 3. She loves it.
Yeah.
That changed the game. But the reason Black Adam, actually The Rock is coming out, this is like my childhood character back then when I was little. And now The Rock's getting ready to come out either late this year with the movie Black Adam based off of Shazam. And it's gonna be something. And this tells you about the car and why I got the car and everything. Because when I was a little kid playing with the Shazam and Black Adam, I was like, one day I'm gonna use that, and I got to use it on my car and everything. So yeah,
I love it. Well, we always end the show the same way, brother, man. We appreciate you, coming through.
Yes.
Sharing your story, sharing all of your stories, a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
From the rooter to the tutor. All right, we can't share no more. That's it.
Yeah.
We can't share no more. But we always end the same way with a positive quote. Tonight's no different. Are you gonna do yours, or you want me to do mine? What you think?
I'm gonna do this one right here.
What you got?
Let's see.
What you got?
Let's see what I got right here. And this is based off the person I was named after, Adam Clayton Powell, up in Harlem. So he said there is no future for people who deny their past. So whoever saying, oh, that ain't who I used to be in the past or whatever, and they're trying to move on and do stuff, because back when I had the TV show, there was a guy. Really quick. There was a guy that had a TV show out too, and he worked at the car wash, and I did the car wash too. And I was like, hey, didn't you used to work at the car wash? He was like, I never did that. No, I never, you know. And I was like, okay. But as you see, the show is no longer around anymore. Right. So, you know, you definitely don't deny that. That's how it made me in my show, because I took stuff from my past when I was doing that bad life, put it in and based it and reel it into the show, and gave people hope, because they thought that, oh, I'm just being the hood or whatever. Instead, I gave them hope and put something together to showcase who they was in music and all that stuff. So
I love that. I always say hope plus options equals success. So the dream is free, the hustle. So it's your boy Bro Troy,
Bro Smith, Bro Kurt,
and we are
Bro Code.
There you go.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Boom.
I appreciate this, y'all.
Oh, hold on, don't move. So this one right here is a 30-second. Sit right there, Adam. Sit right there. Don't move, don't move, don't move.
Don't judge me. I be spreading the message on the corner where the thugs be. And Rock said, be careful when the world start to love me. I've been getting recognition, a lot I'm starting to work.
For tomorrow, if you ain't promised today, or could you walk on water if you don't stand on faith? It's like I'm going through circles, I'm in that same old place. I see you closing the curtains, but I got something to say. I got something to say. GTD, stand up, mean I just don't get it, as if they can't see you making the way. City lights, what up? He's preparing the way. City lights, what up? How could you live for tomorrow if you ain't promised today?
The Bro Code TV show was created to amplify the voices of others and share courageous stories of community leaders, organizations, and businesses that are doing great things. Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., you can catch Bro Troy, Bro Kurt, and Bro Smith for another courageous conversation. You can find those conversations on our YouTube channel at Bro Code TV Productions, and also our audio podcast channels, which are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts at The Bro Code Show. Tap in to the Bro Code experience. We